Live Forever is one of Oasis's best loved songs, and it's widely considered to be one of the best tracks on one of their best albums, Definitely Maybe. In a Radio X poll in 2018, Live Forever was voted the best British song ever, beating the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, David Bowie and Pink Floyd. But what is it about? Over the years, Noel Gallagher has only given small hints and clues, as he does with all of his songs. I recently put a poll on Twitter to see who people thought the song was about, whether his mum, Peggy, his brother Liam, his then girlfriend Louise, or someone else. And the winner, by a slim majority, was somebody else. So it seems clear to me that there is genuinely no consensus at all in the Oasis fan community as to who this song was written to. Britpop author John Harris believes the song is about Noel's mum, Peggy, saying, "On the 8th of August 1994, Definitely Maybe was trailed by Oasis's third single, a song that had sat in their live set for over a year. Live Forever, founded on the simplest of chords, was written in tribute to Peggy Gallagher." I've never been quite sure of that though. The only link most people point out to Peggy seems to be a reference to gardening in the first line, and is that really enough to say that it's about her? So today I want to take a look at the song, analyse the lyrics and see if we can figure out who the song is actually written about. The first thing we need to do if we're going to make an educated guess as to the meaning of this song is establish the context in which it was written. Particularly in the 90s, Noel would often in interviews make stuff up when it came to stories about the origins of his songs. He was always throwing dust into the air as if in an attempt to disguise the truth. It's now well known, for example, that the song Columbia was a co-write between Noel, Liam and the Real People during their recording sessions together. And the music from that song was adapted from an instrumental dance cover that the band used to do live called Tortuga. But here, Noel, in the 90s, falsely claims that he wrote that song many years before in a hut on a building site.
You are the king of the world of pop because once a wall fell on your foot? Is that true?
Yeah. It wasn't a wall. It was a piece of a gas main.
So it's true, because what happened? Because you're working on the building site, and then when that happened, you couldn't get around anymore. So they put you in this little hut.
In this little hut.
What happened in the hut? What was the hut for?
The hut was to give out nuts and bolts to labourers, and they used to come and ask for nuts and bolts, and I used to give them nuts and bolts. But not many people used to come in and ask for nuts and bolts. So I used to sit there with my acoustic guitar and write songs.
Is it true that like 4 of the songs on the first album were written in that hut?
Yes.
That's fantastic. Which songs were they?
I think Live Forever, Columbia.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other two were.
But in that hut?
In that hut.
Now we know the facts concerning how Columbia was written through multiple sources, and I don't believe what he's saying there is true about Columbia or Live Forever. I'm more inclined to believe a later account that Noel gave to Stuff magazine in the noughties, because as he got older, as he got off hard drugs, he became a little more disposed to telling the truth. Talking about Live Forever, the journalist says to Noel, "You wrote that in your bedroom around 1991, right?" But Noel says no. He says, "I'd written most of Definitely Maybe before I wrote Live Forever." The journalist then asks, "Who's the first person you played it for?" Noel replies, "A very uninterested girlfriend, I think. But then I took it to the boys during a rehearsal, and we all knew that that was it." So here, Noel seems to set the record straight. When asked if he wrote it in 1991, he says no. He wrote it in 1993, after the bulk of Definitely Maybe was already written. And of course that makes sense, because if he had that song up his sleeve, they surely would have been playing it live. Tony McCarroll pinpoints the first time Noel showed the song to the band in his excellent book, The Truth. One evening in rehearsals, Noel revealed he was ready to show us the song he'd told us he was keeping under wraps at the Bootle studio. He then went on to play Live Forever. When I say Noel could blow us out of the water with his compositions, I mean it. You know if a song has potential the first time you hear it. Live Forever was a simple piece of brilliance, and the best offering to date from Noel, in my opinion. Now, Tony doesn't say precisely how soon after the Bootle sessions the song was presented to the band, but that does put it in the year 1993. In the 90s, it was often the case that Noel would work on a song, carefully crafting the lyrics and the chords and the melody for months and months and months. He would then roll up with a finished song and then claim to have written it in 10 minutes or on the train or something like that. And to judge by what Tony says there, when the band were recording their live demonstration tape with the real people at Bootle, the song wasn't yet actually finished. It was still in that crafting phase. It was still under wraps. It's impossible to say 100% for sure, but I think that Noel Gallagher completed the final draft of this song, getting all the lyrics exactly as he wanted them after the band had already been signed. The song didn't appear in any live sets that I can find from their unsigned era, and most notably they didn't play it at King Tut's when they just had 4 songs with which to showcase their very best. If they had the song Live Forever then, there's no doubt in my mind at all they would have played it. I couldn't find any record of it live at all in 1993. There is, however, a rough 1993 demo that was released on this, a free tape called Creation for the Nation. And on the back there you can hopefully see Oasis Live Forever, the legendary demo from 93. This tape is the earliest record I can find of Live Forever being performed, which I think means it has to have been part of the Mono Valley sessions. Drummer Tony makes no other mention of recording it before then in his book, and his book is probably the most detailed reference that we have to that 93-94 era. So I think it's entirely possible that this is another of the long-lost Mono Valley versions of Definitely Maybe. Up until now, we've only had Slide Away and a few other really random, obscure snippets and tracks from those sessions, but I think there's a really high likelihood that this could be another one. It must have been a time of monumental excitement for Noel and Liam, whose dreams were all on the cusp of finally coming true. And so, from that context, it's only a very small leap to make an educated guess as to what was front and foremost in the mind of Noel Gallagher. After years of relentless rehearsals, half-empty gigs and hard slog, they had got signed. They had been given their chance, and for the first time it looked like their future could turn out to be everything that they were dreaming of, just as long as they didn't screw it up. Many people have pointed to Kurt Cobain of Nirvana as being the possible inspiration behind this song. Noel said this about Kurt Cobain and his influence.
At the time it was written in the middle of grunge and all that, and I remember Nirvana had a tune called I Hate Myself When I Want to Die, which I was like, well, I'm not fucking having that. As much as I fucking like him and all that shit, I'm not having that. Can't have people like that coming over here on smack fucking saying that they hate themselves and they want to die. That's fucking rubbish. And I'm not saying it was written directly as a retort to that, but that was my thinking, was fuck that, man. Kids don't need to hear that nonsense.
In that interview, Noel does seem to go out of his way to say while the song was inspired and kind of instigated by a Kurt Cobain song, it's not a direct retort, meaning, of course, Kurt is probably not the person Noel is singing to here. However, Noel does drop a few clues as to who this person might be in a much more recent interview.
This is a very special cover. I listened to it last night and I found it quite emotional doing it. So just tell us about why you chose this song to do.
I'd never, ever, since the day I wrote this song and since the day I sang it to the band in 1993 in the rehearsal room, I've never sang Live Forever once. Never in a sound check, never even when Liam didn't bother turning up for gigs. We never did it. It was always his song and he sang it amazingly well. I mean, I wrote this song as a 23-year-old And singing it as like a 54-year-old, it kind of started to take on a different meaning. And I got quite emotional singing it. I couldn't sing it all the way, so I had to stop a couple of times because it's a song that changed my life. You know, we were Oasis was a going concern, and we were a good band, but it was indie music. But the day after I wrote that song, we became great. In its original form, "Live Forever" is a fist pumping. You know, we are going to take on the world. Me and my best friend are going to take on the world, and no one's going to get in our way, and we're going to live forever.
So from this we can take two things. Firstly, the lyrics are not just throwaway nonsense. They are very, very meaningful to Noel. He still gets emotional now, all these years later, when he plays the song. Live Forever clearly has a deep personal meaning to him. And despite those lyrics being slightly opaque, just as Noel has said, something about this song always does seem to elicit a real emotional response in the listener. And secondly, did you pick out the other thing he said there in the interview? In its original form, Live Forever is a fist-pumping song. Me and my best friend are going to take on the world. No one's going to get in our way, and we are going to live forever. So, it was about someone he knew, which rules out Kurt Cobain. Nirvana may have triggered the song, but they were not the recipients. Talking about taking on the world with your best friend also, to my mind, rules out Peggy Gallagher as well. So who was the best friend he was taking on the world with? At that time his best mate was sound engineer Mark Coyle. But is this song written to Coyley? Again, actually I don't think so. We need to take a closer look. So with that being said, let's dive into the lyrics. The first line is, "Maybe I don't really want to know how your garden grows." And this is a reference to a well-known nursery rhyme. "Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row." The Oxford Dictionary of Nursery Rhymes says that one of the most prominent interpretations of this is that it's about Catholicism. Wikipedia also lists 3 different interpretations, each one connected in some way with the Catholic Church. And Noel was raised Irish Catholic, so I wonder if that's what he had in mind here. While Peggy remained a devout Catholic, Noel walked away from religion at an early age, so the idea of Noel addressing Mary and saying, "I don't really want to know," does seem to line up. But is this line really about Noel walking away from religion? We know this song has intense personal meaning for him, so it is at least possible. If so, we would expect to maybe find other references in the lyrics about turning away from belief. And we do. Later in the song we have the line, "Maybe I just don't believe." Now, of course, there are other interpretations of the Mary Mary line. In one interview, Noel claims it's connected to his dad, making him and his brother work on his allotment. Then, in other places, the song has been connected to his mum being a keen gardener. I don't really buy either of these explanations. Taken together, the reference to Mary and the line "I just don't believe" are probably, to my mind, Noel talking about his childhood in Catholicism. And, strengthening that theory, there is also a third reference to Catholicism that we will come to later. The next line simply says, "'Cause I just want to fly." Now this could be taken 2 ways. This could be Noel saying, "I want to fulfill my potential, I want to make the most of my life, I want to take off and never come down." But it could also have a slightly darker meaning, because to fly doesn't just mean to kind of soar in the air as a bird. It also means flee, as in fight or flight.
Fight or flight?
Flight.
So, taken together, you could take the first part of the first verse to be saying, "I'm not interested in Catholicism, I just want to escape." In an interview with Rolling Stone in 1996, Noel actually confirmed that this is the theme not just of that song but of the whole album, saying, "The whole of the first album is about escape. It's about getting away from the shitty, boring life of Manchester." So let's run with the theory that "I just want to fly" means I just want to escape. Again, we would hope to see that somewhere else in the song to back that idea up. And, once again, we do. A few lines later, he repeats the same thing again. Maybe I just want to fly. I want to live. I don't want to die. I so often skate over that line in the song without realising what he's actually saying there. It's like he's in fear for his life. So let's take this a bit further. Assuming he was talking about his Catholic childhood, was there a time when he feared for his life? Was there a time when he really thought he was at risk of being killed and his only chance was escape? Again, of course, the answer is yes.
My dad used to knock my mum about. There was many times when, it got like that.
He used to kill Noel. Noel was the one that got it the most.
Yeah, my dad used to beat living daylights out of me.
He always thought you'd never leave him, because you'd nowhere to go to. You'll never leave me. I said, won't I? Try it.
Before taking shots at each other, the boys endured bare-knuckled blows from their abusive father.
Once you've been left virtually unconscious on the floor by your dad and you know that you're not going to die, then you've got no fear of anything.
The second two lines of the next verse say, "Lately, did you ever feel the pain in the morning rain as it soaks you to the bone?" Live Forever, on a first listen, comes across as such a positive, optimistic song, but on closer examination it's clear that there's actually a lot of darkness there. It's not just wall-to-wall optimism. As many of Noel's songs are, it's bittersweet. To quote John Lennon, it's got pools of sorrow and waves of joy. All Noel's songs that hit the listener right in the heart have both light and darkness within them, that same pain and joy all mingled together. Live Forever is exactly the same. So, what was it in his Catholic upbringing that caused Noel pain? We've literally just covered it. The abuse he suffered at the hands of his dad, and the fact that the Catholic Church wouldn't permit his mum to leave that abusive situation. In an interview from 1997, Liam said, "I suffered a lot when I was a kid. It made me stronger. My father especially hurt me a lot. My mother's old friend as well. They showed me only the dirtiest face of life, insults and blows. Men and religion have broken me. But I understood very fast that I couldn't believe in God anymore, but only in myself. I'll never forget a big fight between my parents. He didn't stop hitting her. She decided it was enough. She wanted to divorce. She used to go every week to the church, but immediately after that, she wasn't allowed to have the communion anymore. She wasn't allowed anymore to eat Christ's body just because she wanted to protect herself from a violent husband. I've never forgiven the Catholic Church for this hypocrisy. Religion turned its back on my mum, so I turned my back on religion. Many of my aunts have never forgiven me. They say I'm a fool, but I don't believe in God at all." And so this line about feeling the pain in the morning rain sits absolutely perfectly in between "I just want to fly," meaning flee, and the next line, which is "I want to live, I don't want to die." It kind of paints the picture of Noel getting out of the house in the early morning and walking in the rain just to escape the violence. I wonder how many mornings he did just wander the streets, bruised and battered in pain from the kicking the night before. In the Supersonic book, Liam also says they'd be rucking in the morning about something and you'd go to school thinking, fucking hell, this is going to be shit. You get through school and come home and go, I hope the cunt's gone out. And then you come round the corner and his car would be there and you'd be thinking, fucking hell, here we go. You get in and then they'd be rucking. The very next two lines say, maybe I just want to breathe. Maybe I just don't believe. Maybe I just want to breathe. All he wants is to be allowed to survive, to just keep breathing. This does seem to back up and line up with the I don't want to die kind of survival interpretation. And maybe this is why in the opening line he says to Mary, I don't really want to know. How can he believe in the face of all he suffered because his mum wasn't allowed to leave? But now we come to the key line in the chorus, and in my opinion, the one that really sheds light on who this song is actually about. Maybe you're the same as me. We see things they'll never see. You and I are going to live forever. We've come now to the big reveal. Remember when this song was written. The band were newly signed. There was a buzz about them in the press. They were about to go into the studio to record their debut album. All their dreams were starting to come true. They were starting to get glimpses of the future that might await them if they do it right. So who is this person who is the same as Noel? Who's this person who will see things that no one else will ever see? Remember what Noel said about who this song is actually about. In its original form, Live Forever is a fist-pumping song. Me and my best friend are going to take on the world. No one's going to get in our way, and we are going to live forever. For me, at this point, there is only one person who can truly fit the bill here. Okay, Mark Coyle was Noel's best friend, but was he the same as Noel? In my opinion, this can only be one person, and that is his little brother, Liam.
Since the day I wrote this song and since the day I sang it to the band in 1993 in the rehearsal room, I've never sang Live Forever once. Never in a sound check, never even when Liam didn't bother turning up for gigs. We never did it. It was always his song.
Both Liam and Noel were raised in that same household, in that same religion. Only those two in that band had the intimate experience of the depths from which they had started. And just to tie it all up, I mentioned earlier that there was a third reference to Catholicism in the song, and here it is. That faith, that religion, promises eternal life to its followers. So as boys, they were offered the chance to live forever by the Catholic Church at a young age. It's as if Noel is saying, you offered me eternal life as a child, when in reality I was in fear of being killed. But me and my brother are going to live forever, but in a different way, on our own terms, through our music.
You know, it's kind of long since over whatever was going on with my old fella. All I care about is the music, you know. In the end, none of this will matter. When it's all said and done, what will remain is the songs.
I think Noel was saying that by creating timeless music, he would actually live forever in the real world, not in the make-believe world of religion. I believe that as they stood there on the precipice as a band, Noel was saying to his younger brother, we're going to do this, you and I are going to live forever. And there's plenty of other things that kind of imply that there is a real special bond between Noel and Liam over this song, to the extent that until very recently, Noel wouldn't even perform the song without his brother on lead vocals. The last two lines in the song go like this. Maybe I will never be all the things that I want to be, but now is not the time to cry, now's the time to find out why. It's easy to look back on the massive global megastardom that the Gallagher brothers did achieve after the writing of this song and go, they knew what was going to happen. But they didn't. None of us do. It's amazing to me to think that he wrote this song and made these predictions about his music in this time when he was still penniless and hadn't actually properly made it yet. Here we get Noel balancing out his self-belief with some sobering reality. He admits here that he knows he might actually not make it. The whole of Definitely Maybe is full of that same hope and ambition tinged with doubt. The whole album is about a band striving to make it and realise their dreams, but even the title of the album shows that they know they've got a shot at the big time, but nothing is guaranteed. Definitely Maybe. That title shows this exact same sentiment. And then we come on to Now is not the time to cry, now's the time to find out why. Noel knows it might never happen, but he's not going to sit back and cry about it. He's not going to be passive. If there's some blockage to the dream coming true, he's going to find out why and remove every obstacle he can to reaching the top. And we see that exact same thought and philosophy in other songs on Definitely Maybe, Cigarettes and Alcohol being a really good example. You can wait for a lifetime to spend your days in the sunshine, but you've got to make it happen. But here is the best thing about everything expressed in Live Forever. It really did happen. It actually came true. Noel and Liam did achieve everything they set out to do. The Definitely Maybe just became Definitely. They did fly and escape their childhood traumas. They did hit the big time. They did see things that ordinary people will never see. And they created music that will far outlast them without any doubt whatsoever. All of it came true. And as if confirming that living forever means creating music that is timeless, the single cover shows the childhood home of Noel's hero, John Lennon, who also had a difficult, turbulent childhood in the north of England and rose above it all to become the stuff of timeless music legend. And I personally think that's the message of this sleeve. If John Lennon could do it, so could Noel. And finally, just in case anyone is in any doubt about Noel's feelings about Live Forever in particular, I'd like to leave you with this interview from 2002 with the Sydney Morning Herald. The journalist asks, "If you die tomorrow, do you think you've left a decent legacy?" And Noel replies, "If the one thing I'm remembered for is Live Forever, then that will do me. Wonderwall is fine, a lovely pop song, but I wrote Live Forever when I was 21, and that song, the lyrics to that song, will stand up 500 years from now."
Our music will stand the test of time. That is a fact, right? All this media hype and all this thing about us being this, that and the other, right, will be dead in a year's time. Everyone will forget about it. The records that we make will be in the shops forever, and it's as simple as that. And on that point, I'll be part of Peanuts Kid. Hoorah!